Hello friends, Ashton here. So in today's video, I'm going to introduce you a new tool. So maybe that can help you. Uh, so if you are a Google's Workspace user and you are using Google Drive a lot, you may have requests like this. So basically, this is a file share request from maybe from somebody from your organization or somebody around the world. They want to have access to your file. And if you want to handle this kind of request one by one, if you share a lot of files to other people, and if you want to automate this process, and this could be a project for you, okay? So let me show you what I did here. So here I designed this tool to basically to automate the file sharing process. So my process is like this. So every time you receive a request, you're going to have an email like this in your Gmail, and our tool here is going to check the email you received in your Gmail account by frequency, like every 10 minutes, we check the emails in your inbox, and if we find the emails like this with a subject like this, like a share request, maybe if you're using another language, maybe it's not in English, maybe it's in other language, maybe we need to change the subject keyword in our script. But I'm going to show you later in the script. So right now, let's assume you're using English as the default language for the your account here. So this is going to be our keyword share request, and this is also email address sent basically with .mango.com and drive share DM no reply. So this is also a very key information because this is going to be the sender. So and we have two white lists here. One is for the files and one is for the email addresses. So basically, if you don't want to share your file to anyone, so basically they can have this. So if you want to have a white list like this, only the people you added here can have this that can be automated in this process. So let me show you what I did here. So here I have a menu. So if I try to check the file share request, so this is going to be a manual check, okay? So if I try to run this function, it's gonna to, okay, so now it's completed. And if I check the log here, so here is the timestamp. So I basically have I sent three, okay, I sent three file share requests from this test account to my main Google account. So as you can see here, so this is the one for the file test file 1, and this is for test file 2, and this is for gas project 089. So and for the first two, they are success, okay, shared successfully. So if I check this file, so this is for the test file 1. So here we have the link to the file, right? So this is in the email body, okay? So if I visit this link, so you will see, if I go to the share button, as you can see here, this test user right now is a commenter, right? That is because, so right now it's comment for the permission. So in users, right now, this test user is added as a comment permission, okay? So here you have three permissions here. You can have either read access, and you can have edit or comment. All right, so that's easy to understand. And we also can add a default. So basically, you don't have to assign a permission here for the user. But if there is no permission for the user, the files also have a default permission. All right, so I'm going to use this one. So right now, this have two files here in this file white list, and that's why for the third one here, that says file not in the whitelist because this ID is not in this list. Okay, so as you can see, we cannot find this file ID here in this column, and we can create a trigger to check. Okay, so we can create a trigger to basically to run this check file share request every 10 minutes. Right now it's set up as every 10 minutes, so we can change it to 30 minutes, 15 minutes, or even 1 minute. So create trigger. So it's going to create the trigger for us to check this automatically. So we don't need to do that every time. We need to do a manual check like this. So right now the trigger has been created. So if I go to the script and check the triggers, right now this trigger is set up to run this check file share requests function every 10 minutes. Okay, so this is kind of set up for all the configuration, and then I only need to update your file whitelist and the user whitelist. And here I also added a function here to help you to add files to this list. Okay, so to use this function, you need to have a folder. Okay, so here I have a test folder. So let me grab this ID. I need to have this grab folder ID. So copy this part is going to be the ID of the folder. And if I run this function, I need to enter an ID for the folder. And if I click on OK, as you can see, it's going to import the file information from all the files in this folder. Okay, so right now it's not handling the subfolders in this folder, so it's going to handle all the files in the folder you entered. Okay, with this ID. For the subfolders, we have that possibilities to handle, but I want to keep it simple. All right, so basically, as you can see, they're imported, and I can remove them because they're duplicated. Okay, so let's remove these rows, and that's all the functionalities about this. Not all. I forgot to mention one thing. Okay, so as you can see here, after this file, this request is handled, I applied a label here called shared. So that means this request has been done. Okay, so if we applied a shared table here, and the next time we won't handle this email anymore. Okay, so if I go to the label shared, let me reload. So as you can see, these two request for test file 1 and test file 2. So a shared label is applied, and if you don't want to keep this shared request, you can go to this label and select all of them and delete it. We can delete it in the script too, but I didn't do that because I think it's much safer for you to delete them manually. Okay, in your Gmail. All right, so I think that's all about this project. Okay, and if you think this is going to help you, and I'm going to show you how to make a copy of the project and how to set them up for your account. Okay, so let's do it. So I'm going to send you a copyable link, so it's going to be a link like this. So then you can make a copy to your Google Drive, okay? And you can click on make a copy. It's going to make a copy of the file and copy all the scripts, okay? And now then you have a file like this, and you can rename it whatever you like. Okay, so right now this is a default setup. So first thing you need to do, you need wait a little bit to maybe let me do a reload. So right now I cannot see this this menu here. I should have a menu. Okay, so here the first step you need to do, you can click on any of these functions here. So let me try this one. It's going to ask you for the authorization. All right, and you need to complete this authorization process. Since this is a new project for you, okay? So after this is done, and you can try all of these functions here. So before we try to use this function, I'd like to do a test to make sure everything works fine. So I'd like to delete all of these logs, and I'm going to remove these two labels for this file, because if the label is applied to this file, it's going to be ignored by the script. So I can test it, but for you, you won't have these two requests. So you need to send, you need to set up the user whitelist and file whitelist. Then you can run some tests. So to make sure it's working, I'd like to run a test for you so you can see it should work from your side. So now it's done. Okay, so if I go to the logs, as you can see here, the theme log. Okay, so it's working, and let me show you what you can do. Maybe you want to some customization, and you need to do it in this script. All right, so here in the file these extensions, and go to the app script. It's going to open the project for you, and you have all this script here. And so the configurations you can do are all in this configuration object. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, you need to make sure you turn this off, this debug mode off. Okay, so if this debug mode is on, that means the file are shared to this debug email. Okay, it's always shared to this one, no matter who requested the file, and it's always shared with this debug email address. So make sure you turn this off, and I'm going to turn it off here. So in the original source, original file, so I'd like to turn it off. So make it false. And if you want to do some test, you can turn this on. So make it true to run the test, right? And you can update this email address. You can use a test email address you have, so you can test it before you maybe you made some mistake. You share the files to other people you don't want to share with them. So you can run the test first, and after the test, then you can just turn this to debug mode to false. That's going to turn off the debug mode, and it means it's going to be production. Okay, so let's go back to this file. This is the copied file. Okay, and this is the application name you can change. So it's use it for the menu here. So if you don't like it, you can change it to a name you like, and this is going to be the subject. So if you are using a different language, maybe you are using Spanish or other language, maybe the default is not shared request for. So what I mean here, so basically the subject, maybe in Chinese or some other language, you can update the subject here. So this is a keyword for the subject, and this is from your email address. So you can check the example. And if somebody sends you a request, you can check if this email address is the same with this one. So assume this should be the same, okay? And this is going to be the frequency in minutes, okay? So by default, it's 10 minutes. Basically, it's going to check the data, the emails in your inbox every 10 minutes. So the options you have here is 1 minute, 5, 10, 15, and half an hour. So you only have these options because in the trigger, if I go to the triggers, if you want to create a trigger that runs let me show you, create trigger. So if I select time driven and minutes timer, so as you can see, the options I have every 1 minute every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. That's why you have all of these options here. All right, so this is about the trigger. And this is the label. You also can change the label for the email you already shared, you already handled. Okay, so this is a label. You don't have to create a label like this way. Okay, you can change this name, a special name you like, and if you already have a label here and you want to use it, you can just change this label to the name. Okay, to the label name you want to use it, and you don't have to create this label if this label is not existed here. It's going to create for you automatically. Okay, and this is about the logs. Okay, this logs is going to be the name for this tab, logs. Okay, and this is about the worksheet name, the tab name for the file whitelist, and this is for the user whitelist. If you want to change the tab name, you make sure you change it here and make sure they are matching. Okay, and this is permission. You don't have to change it. They're usually in the code, and also use it in this drop down here, as you can see. So that's all you can do. So in the script, by default right now, this is default setup. And if you want to do some customization, you want to change something, that's all you can do. And all the other functionalities, if you are interested, you can check all of them. They're open source, so you can always check, and you can always do some improvement if you like. And let me check if I forget anything. And of course, if you want to have a trigger, basically if you don't want to check them every 10 minutes, maybe you want to check your request every day or every 5 hours, what you can do, you don't have to use this create trigger function. Okay, so this create trigger function is using the frequency here you defined, like every 10 minutes, and you can do the trigger setup manually. So you go to the triggers and create this button, add a trigger, and here you have a lot of options like time driven, and you can select day timer, so you can check them every day, and you can specify a time range here. The trigger function should be called. Okay, and you can even check them weekly, but I don't recommend to do this because right now we are checking the emails in the last 24 hours. So this weekly weekly timer won't work. Okay, you're going to miss some information, and if you have to use it, you need to do some change in the code. And let me show you where you can do the change. If you do a search for 1 day, okay, you need to change this to 7 days if you want to use a weekly trigger. That means we need to check the emails in past 7 days. That's 1 week, right? And if you want to do a monthly, that's a different story. So you maybe change it to 31 days, because some months you will have 30 days, some months you have 31 days, and even 29, 28 days in a month. So you can cover, right, as much as possible. So let's change it back to 1 day. Yes, I think that's almost it for this project. And let me check if anything else. Okay. So maybe one note. So these 2 columns are required. Okay. So for this file whitelist, only these 2 columns are used in the script. So the rest of information, they're not necessary. Okay. They're just information for you to help you to know where the file is, and you can have a quick link to them. They're imported by this function. Okay, add files to whitelist function. It's going to basically add more information about the files imported from the folder. But if you want to add the file manually, like if I want to add this file, I can just copy the ID of the file, and I can basically make a copy of this cell, and I can change the permission for this file. You want to share it with the user, and the rest of columns you don't have to add them. Okay, they're just so basically, if you are using this function to add the files to the whitelist, it's going to add all of this information for you, but they are not necessary. Okay, and you can add the file IDs here manually, and you basically assign a permission for this file you want to share if somebody requests this file, right? And for the users, you can enter a list of emails, and then you can assign a permission for this user. So that's all the setup you need to do. Okay, so I think that's it for this project, and I hope this can help you. And if you think you can make a copy of the project, and you can try to use it, and let me know if you found any issues. Okay, I think that's it for today's video. Thank you. Bye bye.
But all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays.